This week on Down the Right Field Line, we're going to talk about some of the moves that have been going on in Major League Baseball. We're also going to talk about the surprise top priority for the Marlins right now. Stay tuned. Down the Right Field Line next. Welcome guys, this is going to be our last episode of Down the Right Field Line for this year. We have a lot of topics to talk about right now. Let's get right into it. Darvish is the latest move in Major League Baseball. He signed he didn't sign yet, but the Texas Rangers bid $51.7 million to be able to have the exclusive right to negotiate with him. That's a lot of money just to negotiate with a guy. Rafi, what do you think about Darvish and the Rangers taking all the risk with that amount of money?
Yeah, the Rangers, I guess they felt they had to compete with what the Angels did, adding Pujols and their very own C.J. Wilson. So, signing Darvish, was it the right, or at least competing to negotiate for Darvish, was it the right move? I'm not sure. There's not much to base it on, and so now you're spending all this money just to see what he's got. And in Texas, we know that's a tough pitcher's park, and we'll see what happens. We know that when the Rangers signed Chan Ho Park, that didn't work out very well, and they had to kind of eat the contract. So it'd be interesting to see how this works out if they do end up signing Darvish, and chances are they will, but. It's really interesting to me, and I thought that they probably should have gone with bats instead of pitching, but
it's kind of interesting the way the whole thing plays out, because this whole bidding thing, a whole bunch of teams submit bids, and the other teams don't know what the other teams are bidding. So they say that the Blue Jays bid somewhere around 20 or 30 million, and then you have the Rangers at 51.7. That's a huge gap, but the teams don't have a choice. They pretty much go out there and say, this is the amount I'm willing to spend, and see if they can outspend someone. And then on top of that, the Japanese team doesn't know which team wins the bid. They just have to decide, is $51.7 million enough to make them happy? And to be honest with you, it would certainly make me happy to have $51 million just to let a guy go. So I think the guy is going to be a great pitcher. I definitely think he's going to be a better pitcher than Daisuke ended up being. So we'll see how that plays out. Some of the other moves that have gone on in Major League Baseball, huge move was Gio Gonzalez. And as a matter of fact, the day we posted our previous episode about Gio Gonzalez hopefully coming to the Marlins was the day that the Nationals had made the trade. To get him, and they traded away 4 minor leaguers, as you can see here. These are the names, and there's top prospects, definitely top prospects that they sent over there, and that's what the A's wanted, and they sent out Gio Gonzalez. But also there's rumors going around that the A's got approval from Major League Baseball to go down to San Jose, which is a huge move, and it could impact them starting next season with the amount of moves that they might make moving into that new ballpark if they can get all the money strained out. So what do you think about the Gio Gonzalez trade?
Well, first of all, how frustrated were you when you finally published that our video and that happened?
Well, the funny part was I was publishing it, and you had sent me a text message telling me, Gio Gonzalez went to the Nets. And I was still trying to finish up the title for the video and everything, and I see the text message, I'm like, jeez, he could have been a fish. He should have been a fish.
Yeah, definitely.
But does this put the Nationals at a new level?
I mean, it definitely gets them closer. Now you've got a 1-2 punch in Strasburg and Gonzalez. You got Jordan Zimmerman. You can't really sleep on him. It's the last two spots that, we'll see what happens there. But
well, even John Lannon. John Lannon has proved to be,
definitely
a pretty good starter himself. So it's just they're just stacking up that rotation.
Exactly. They're getting it done on the mound, and there's nothing wrong with that. After last offseason spending lucrative amounts of money on Jason Worth, and so far it hasn't panned out. We'll see how that goes. The NL East certainly becomes tougher, certainly becomes more exciting, certainly says that the Mets have no shot. If you look at it in terms of how the Marlins figured into this, Marlins weren't giving up either Stanton or Lomo. Now, having said that, I know that it's not very popular to say, well, why don't we just give up Lomo? The game is won on the mound for the most part. If you have solid pitching, you go a long way. And not only is it a solid starting pitcher, is a solid left-handed starting pitcher. And so by adding that person to the rotation, like we mentioned in our last show, it pays dividends. Now, you say, okay, you lose a guy like Logan Morrison. Yes, he's left-handed, and I think that's the biggest thing here, is that he's a left-handed bat in the lineup, which is very precious. But if you can get a guy like Gio Gonzalez, in my opinion, that you pull the plug, you do the trade, I think we would have been just fine. But that's my take on it. How about you? I'm sure you want Lomo, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting what you were saying. I brought up a scenario with you where if we could definitely have room in left field for a guy like Yoenis Cespedes, which, a lot of rumors are that the Marlins are really going to be going after him. But, the scenario kind of plays out the way I see it, is moving Lomo back to first and trading away Gabby Sanchez to have room for him. And you never know. I don't know if Oakland was necessarily interested in Gabby Sanchez. He does have a little bit more experience than Lomo does, which means he's going to cost more sooner. But as far as Lomo goes, I would have to say I disagree with you a little bit, just because Lomo is a rare talent. To have a lefty with pop, I think he's definitely going to be one of the biggest staples. I see this club moving forward like 4 or 5 years. The staples are going to be Stanton, Lomo, Reyes, and Hanley. But that's my take on it. Some of the other moves that have been going on in Major League Baseball is Carlos Beltran going to the Cardinals for 2 years, $26 million. Surprise move, maybe. I kind of saw the Cardinals being very active. They have to try to replace Pujols. And I can kind of see that fitting in for their lineup. But at the same time, you can't replace Pujols. And,
no, of course not.
I think they kind of shot themselves on the foot when they did the long-term contract with Matt Holliday a couple years ago. And that's why all these things are kind of falling into place. Now they have to go after Beltran, as opposed to keeping a guy like Albert Pujols in the lineup.
Well, as far as Carlos Beltran is concerned, you're going to get a guy that is not going to play every day. He's going to play maybe 4 or 5 times a week, more or less. I think another reason why Beltran was added to the fold was because Alan Craig, I believe, is injured, and he's going to take a little bit of time to come back. So to fill that void out in right field, I think that's a major reason for that. Another reason, you have a veteran presence in the lineup. I can go on and on and on. Ultimately, what number is Carlos Beltran going to wear? Because Rafael Furcal is wearing number 15 right now. So I think that's a little interesting. I'm joking,
that's interesting.
Of course.
That might be interesting for you, but I think...
I'm joking, of course.
Yeah,
That's how significant I think the move is. So, we'll see.
Okay, well, one of the biggest stories recently as far as the Marlins goes is kind of finding out exactly where the Marlins are positioning themselves as far as their priorities go as the offseason continues to play out. It's been said that recently the top priority for the Miami Marlins is Greg Dobbs.
Huh?
And yes, Greg Dobbs is the Marlins' top priority. And, people might speculate and say, oh, why you put so much, they need another starter, and now they're putting so much emphasis on Dobbs. He's a very good off-the-bench player, and he came through in the clutch numerous amounts of times last year, even though we had a bad season. This guy, if you put him as just a pinch hitter and spot starters, he's going to be a great player. Last year he got a little bit beat up because he had to start at third base.
Definitely.
But I think this is a great player. The Nationals are making a play for him as well.
Well, first of all, as soon as the season ended, believe it or not, but I thought what was important was to get Dobbs back. If you remember early on in the season when he was used as a pinch hitter, like he was supposed to be used, like you said, he came in the clutch. A game against the Phillies, I believe, early in April in Philadelphia, he came up with a clutch hit off the bench. Different scenarios where you say, this is the guy that we need off the bench. That was that left-handed hitting player that we were missing since Ross glowed.
So this week's edition of Pharaoh File, Rafi's going to go through some speculation about replay and what he thinks about it.
With the expansion of replay on the horizon, there's talk about adding the play on trap balls in the outfield or calls down the right field line or left field line. And to me, I've always been old school, let the human element take over in a ball game. But within the last few years, we've seen so many camera angles, so much judgment on these umpires that I think it's not fair for these umpires to continue to do their job without a little help. After seeing all of this, I've come around to the idea that, maybe replay should be expanded. Not too much where you have calls at first base or even balls and strikes. I think that would be ridiculous. But, I do agree with like a trap call or a ball down the line or a play at the plate. Like I mentioned with the Ryan Braun thing, there's no way to win this argument, but that's why our segment is Fair or Foul. That's why it's opinion-based. My opinion now is that we should expand replay, and your opinions should either come right below me on the comments. I believe that the expansion of replay is necessary in Major League Baseball nowadays.
Let us know what you guys think. Should Major League Baseball expand replay? And what plays do you foresee them expanding it to? Follow us on Twitter. Tweet us there. Follow us on Facebook. Leave us a comment. Or just leave us a comment on this video. That about wraps it up for Season 1 of Down the Right Field Line. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next year we're going to obviously continue this in Season 2. Stay tuned for 2012 Down the Right Field Line. For now, we will see you next week. And here's our latest edition of our random video of the week, which we like to call
the Mega.